Genshin Impact on the PlayStation 5. I don't even know if this is a popular game or not. I just came across this game when I was browsing the store, and because it was for free, I downloaded it, I checked it out, and after I played around with HDR, I decided this game is worth to do a video. And of course, you know me, before we start talking about the game, we have to talk about this calibration menu on the PlayStation 5. And unfortunately, as in many other games, this menu has no impact at all in the game, which is not a big problem because we have very nice sliders, actually, very nice settings in the game. So in regards to HDR black level rays, I was not able to verify this because there is actually just a very brief moment, a complete dark picture like this now, and it's not enough time actually to verify if we have any black level rays. So at this very moment, I really can't tell you. It can be that we are talking about black level rays as we know it in many other games, or maybe we are lucky and there's nothing at all. During my testing, I discovered a very annoying bug. So when you actually go into the HDR calibration menu on the PlayStation 5 and do some changes, and then you go back into the game, you end up with a terrible picture like this. And the interesting thing is actually when you do a calibration on the PlayStation 5, the HDR calibration, it will actually close the game. So I can't understand actually what is going on here, because this at the moment, as you can probably see, this is just SDR, in my opinion, in HDR. So you can see HDR is still active, but this is not proper HDR at the moment. And the thing how you can fix it, or I was able to fix it, you just go into the menu again and you change anything here. If you just like to change this to here, you change this to here, and then you confirm this, and now you have your perfect HDR picture back. This always happens when I was in the HDR calibration menu on the PlayStation 5. And I have to admit, this game actually delivers very nice HDR if you're using the right settings. And with right settings, I'm talking about HGiG. And of course, as always, I would explain to you why I would recommend to use HGiG in this game if you can. So let's just jump into these settings. And I did a lot of measurements because there was a couple of things unclear in the very beginning, because we're talking here about graphic and brightness settings. So, and when we jump into the first settings menu, we have the adjust brightness. What is the maximum HDR peak brightness as we know it as in many games? So what I found is here that first I show you dynamic tone mapping a little bit later. So this picture, when you leave this on the standard settings, even HGiG, it will already overblown or over widen, over brighten. Very nice fine details in HDR. So what I found is you go to when you hardly can see this. I don't know what this actually is here. This image here. So this is now I can hardly see it, and now you go 2 ticks to the right side, and now you just confirm this. So this menu as well is very important, and I will show you a couple of things. So we have, by the way, it's still talking about adjusting brightness, which is, we are adjusting brightness, but the previous picture also was adjusting brightness, so it's a little bit confusing. But again, this is the maximum peak brightness for HDR, for the HDR effects, and this is what we have here. The scenery brightness is the overall brightness, where you can see now the overall brightness from the screen is changing. And what we have here, the display brightness, is actually just the symbols here what you change. So in my opinion, this is complete, not right, not even close, to the right, how should I say, titles what you should use actually to describe the settings. So completely wrong in my opinion, but anyway. So what I found in this menu, and again, this counts for HGiG, and also keep in mind, tested on my TV, okay? Tested on my TV, your TV is slightly different, but maybe just use it as a reference and then go from there, okay? Anyway, what I found, scenery brightness, we go 4 ticks to the right side, okay? The display brightness is 4 ticks to the left side, and this is very important actually, because I will show you this in a second what I mean. So this is the picture what we're ending up then, HGiG. And I have to say, very nice effects, very nice effects. I did a lot of testing in terms of brightness with my colorimeter, and this is so far the best settings what I found. I mean, as always, we know dynamic tone mapping will give you better or a higher overall brightness, but it comes with a very big advantage, a disadvantage in this game, and I will talk about this in a second. So now we're focusing on HGiG. So this is the picture what you get, and with these settings what I have, I really like the sun, I really like the clouds. This is just, in my opinion, the best what I can do on my LG CX 65-inch. And with the right, let's say like this, with tweaked settings, I was actually able to measure this sun with over 700 candela. But absolutely wrong settings in terms of the other picture, but I was just actually very interested in how bright this is actually, to get an idea how the HDR is actually working. So this was, I was able to measure around 704 candela. I think this was the highest measurement what I ever had. But anyway, right now with those settings, we're talking about 450 candela, okay? So, and I have to explain, of course, a couple of things. So let's jump back into this brightness menu. So again, this is the menu for the maximum peak brightness from your HDR effects, like the sun, okay? So when you have to when you set this up, then you tell the game maximum peak brightness. So now the problem is, when you change the scenery brightness, the higher you get with the brightness, the more you reduce the maximum peak brightness from spectacular highlights like the sun. So when I'm going to the absolutely dark area or dark side, I'm going to the dark side, now I'm going to the dark, dark setting, then I will actually improve or get a higher maximum peak brightness like on the sun. So, but of course the whole picture doesn't look good anymore. So this is what we're ending up. Very dark overall picture, very dull actually. But when you now measure this one, it is very, very bright. And I know my camera maybe is capturing exactly the same brightness or whatever, but this is very, very bright now compared to the other setting. But also it looks absolutely terrible, because it's really just a round ball, has nothing to do with the sun at all. It's really not nice to look at. So again, my recommended settings is actually, you can see this hardly, you go 2 ticks to the right side, which is changing this back to standard. The scenery brightness is also 1, 2, 3, 4. And the display brightness is also 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left side, and I will explain to you why. So the display brightness is changing the brightness from those settings, from the symbols here and the map and whatever. And what I found is, if you're not changing this to -4, HGiG will also brighten up those symbols here. So how should I explain this to you? When you turn this off, you can actually see in the background, I think there's something happening. You can see HGiG is doing, as always, a very, very good job in my opinion. It makes these clouds really very realistic. They're looking fantastic in my opinion. But also what is happening when you leave this brightness, the display brightness on the standard settings, you will brighten up those when you turn this from off to on. Right now nothing is happening because we set it up to -4. So what is my thinking here? First of all, I don't want to waste any HDR brightness in symbols like this. So don't get me wrong, probably it's complete, it doesn't matter at all probably, but if you just now think we have just a limited maximum peak brightness on this TV around 650, 700 candela, then I don't want to waste any more candelas here to show these symbols in a higher brightness. I like to put all my power from the display in objects like the cloud or the sun or something else. So, and the other thing is, I don't want to have those symbols too bright because of my OLED TV, okay? So of course when I'm playing, I'm a little bit worried. I don't want to have any burn-ins, don't want to have any temporary image retention or whatever the name was. I think that's right. So that's why I decided actually to go with -4, and now the symbol is staying exactly the same brightness as they're without HGiG on. And in my opinion, that's the best picture what you get when you're using HGiG. But now of course we have dynamic tone mapping on as well, and as always there's no point to play this game in dynamic tone mapping off, because it will just gives you a very bad picture actually. Look at this doesn't look good at all. And we have to talk about this setting here as well, because this is completely different to the HGiG setting. So let's jump back into this graphics brightness, and I don't know if you can see the display at the moment. So even I'm adjusting this to the complete end right side, I still can see the display. So and according to the a test picture, this is how I have to set it, and I have to agree on this, because that's how dynamic tone mapping is working. Complete different behavior than HGiG. This is the right setting, okay? Put it to the right side, press next, and now actually changes back to the standard settings, and we just changing the display brightness to -4. We leave the scenery brightness as it is, because I found with dynamic tone mapping on, this is exactly what we need. The overall brightness is just really perfect in my opinion. As you can see, very bright here actually, and even the HDR effects with dynamic tone mapping, really nice. But as always, we know we have the disadvantage that dynamic tone mapping takes around 5 to 6 seconds to adjust to a picture, and this is actually, hopefully my camera is catching this. This is something what I can show you here, very nice. So we just are waiting here a little bit. We going back to this, we have very bright sun, and can you see how this is changing to just a ball, to, how should I say, so it's still actually, wow, it takes much longer than 5 seconds actually. This, can you see? Hopefully my camera can catch this. I will do this again. So how dynamic tone mapping is working, it will analyze the screen, will find that there is not a very bright objects at the moment, and it will brighten up the whole screen. So there's a big difference between, and we can show this. Can you see this? This is the real HDR brightness at this very moment. Okay, real HDR brightness. I hope you get my point. This is the brightness what the game is right now displaying, and dynamic tone mapping is analyzing the screen and decided I can use the maximum brightness from the TV what I have, because there is not a bright object to display, because there's no HDR objects at this very moment. Okay, there are some, but I will show you this later. So now when we go in here, we have very bright sun. I told you already, maximum 700 candela, and now dynamic tone mapping is analyzing this and finds, oh, I have a very bright object here. I need actually to lower the brightness here. I need to focus on this. And this is changing all the time, I have seen, because it depends also on the clouds, of course. When you have more clouds on the screen, which are also very bright, dynamic tone mapping has to adapt to this as well. So this is why I don't like this mode, because it will always, can you see now? It looks completely different, the sun now. And now, because this cloud is going a little bit bigger, this is changing as well, because dynamic tone mapping is adjusting the brightness from the screen. This is what I don't like at all. This is the right sun at the moment, and when I leave this here with dynamic tone mapping off, this is not changing at all. And the same is happening with HGiG. It will not change at all. The spectacular highlights, the objects are always remaining in the same brightness, and that's why I would strongly recommend use HGiG in this game. There's not just the sun where we have a much better HDR picture with HGiG over dynamic tone mapping. There are also very small objects like the stones here, the cobblestones here, where we have very great HDR effects with HGiG. And I hope you can see this, especially here when you focus here and on this here. I'm turning this off and on. Can you see this? We just really improving the very bright spectacular highlights here on the stones. You can, I'm quite sure you can see this already. It's very bright here, this little cobblestone stuff. And this is very nice effect. And this is just one of the example I found through the whole game so far. Very fine, nice, subtle HDR details, which improves the game in my opinion a lot. And the downside with dynamic tone mapping on is actually we lose those fine details completely. Absolutely completely. Even in my best setting, what I found so far for dynamic tone mapping, they are just gone, because dynamic tone mapping now is overbrighten the whole picture, and because there are so small HDR effects, dynamic tone mapping is not even recognizing them. They just brighten up. It is just too bright at the moment. You have not a single nice fine detail anymore here. And yes, I get it. The picture now is brighter, but also that's not the point for HDR, to be very honest. The point is to have very nice details in HDR and not just maximum brightness. So this game is a very good example for how HGiG can improve HDR. The only thing what we would need when we're using HGiG is a brighter display, because 650, 700 candela, it's just too less to have a very, very nice HDR effect. And that's why I get that some people love to play with dynamic tone mapping on, because it will gives them a little bit more overall brightness. But I think, to be very honest, I'm still in the wrong HDR settings anyway, and this is, I think, the end for my video anyway. So I will just show you again my settings for my recommended mode HGiG. Okay, so adjust this picture that you hardly can see this image, and then you go 1, 2 ticks more, you can confirm this. We're setting this back to normal or to the standard, and what we do with the scenery brightness is 1, 2, 3, 4, and with the display brightness 1, 2, 3, 4 to the other side. That's how I would recommend to play this game. But as always, keep in mind, this is the setting for my LG CX, but I would say it will probably be the same at your TV as well, if you're using LG CX 65 inch as well. And now I have very nice bright picture. It still can be a little bit more bright, because we have sunny day, absolutely fine sunny day, and I'm missing this brightness from the sun actually here a little bit. But again, maybe with the next generation from the LG TVs or OLED TVs, I would love to see a little bit more of an overall improvement in terms of brightness. But I'm really happy with this picture. And I have to say, the picture quality in this game is great. I'm not quite sure if the game is something what I would like to play, but I'm a big fan of cel shading graphic anyway. And I have to say, I was so impressed. I was not aware of this game. I haven't had this game on my radar at all, but because it was free, and I'm very glad that I actually tried it out. It is really great. The image quality, the picture quality in this game, really, really great. Okay, so I think that's enough for this video. Just put in the comments what you think about this game, about the settings, and as always, please put in the comment section if you use different settings, if you use a different TV, because with a different TV there are for sure different settings. Okay, if you use a Sony TV, Panasonic, there are different peak brightness and so on and so on. This will end up in a different result as well, or different settings for sure. So, and I would love to see those settings in my comment section to share it with the people out there. Okay, anyway, so that's for this video. Hello Anna, I will talk to you later. Margaret, Boss Cat's Tail. Okay, it's probably, I mean, it's a role-play game, and I don't have time for spending. I need to find more time, really. I need to find more time. There are so many great games out there at the moment, not just at the moment, overall. And anyway, no time to complain as well. Okay, thank you very much for watching me. I see you guys next time. Bye.